Okay, so we're going to start with the greenhouse effect. Who can describe the greenhouse effect as it relates to Earth? Colton?
It keeps Earth
Okay, keep going.
warm, and it's like kind of like a blanket over the atmosphere.
Okay, Nico, what would you say it is?
And like basically the warming effect of the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, so you know the atmosphere contains gases. Those gases have the ability to absorb solar radiation, to absorb the sun's heat. And of course, the more gases that we put into the atmosphere, the more heat can be absorbed. And that's when the greenhouse effect is a good thing, right? We need it in order for life to exist and for liquid water to exist. But it can turn into something not so good because we're putting too many gases into the atmosphere. Too many greenhouse gases increase the temperature. All right, carbon cycle. What types of activities add carbon to the atmosphere? Arushi?
I'll try to say some of them.
Sure, what do you have?
Fossil fuels.
So I'll say burning fossil fuels, right? Okay.
When we like breathe.
Yeah, respiration or breathing is what that, yep. Those are probably the two main ones because this burning fossil fuels encompasses a whole bunch of different things. All right, we kind of already answered this one. As carbon in the atmosphere increases, it's able to trap more heat, leading to climate change, meaning our planet is getting warmer than it's ever been. And we're starting to see ecosystems like coral reefs are significantly being affected specifically. And glaciers. We're seeing a lot of glaciers receding, melting, and so on. All right, types of fossil fuels. There are three. Who has them down? Ben?
Oil,
Oil, what else?
oil, natural gas,
Natural gas
and coal.
and coal. Good. All right, the water cycle. The water cycle is simply a continuous cycle of how water moves within our environment. Believe it or not, all the water that exists today has always existed on Earth. The water we use today was around when the dinosaurs roamed the Earth.
Yahoo!
By definition, it's a cycle. There's no entry and there's no exit. It just gets recycled over and over and over again. So what I had you do is review the water cycle in a little more detail. What is transpiration? Karina.
I took the water from the plants.
Good. So you know plants have leaves. They have tiny holes in the bottom of their leaves. I kind of think of it like we have tiny holes in our skin, right? That allow us to sweat. We lose fluid that way. So do plants. They have tiny holes under their leaves called stomata and they lose water vapor out of them. What about evaporation? What's that, Sawyer?
It's when like water from like lakes and oceans just like forms clouds.
Okay, the forming clouds is something different.
It like goes into the air water.
Okay, so it's when water turns in, or a liquid turns into a gas. Water becomes water vapor. What about condensation? Zine.
It's like when the water vapor gets squished into the water molecule.
Yep, so it's kind of the opposite of evaporation. It's when the water vapor turns back or condenses into water droplets. What's infiltration? What part of the water cycle is that, Sanjay?
When the water goes into the soil.
Yeah, when water soaks into the ground or into the soil. Precipitation, of course, is what? Ritik?
When rains. And
Well, there's different forms, right?
when the water comes back down to earth.
You got it. Water in any form gets brought back down to earth. Runoff. What's runoff, Sutton?
It's the water of any form going back into a lake or something?
Right, it's running off from anywhere. It could be running off from a parking lot, it could be running off of a hill, a gravel pit, wherever it's running off of. And then there's one word that was missing, I don't know if you noticed it. Collection was missing from the study guide. So what is collection in the water cycle? Evie?
Water that falls from the sky collects in other water.
Right. It's basically wherever that water that ran off collects. Is it a stream? Is it in a lake? Is it at the bottom of a, I don't know, valley? Where does it end up? Karina?
Like what do you call it? Sewer water.
Why do I call it what?
Sewer water.
Sewer water.
Sewer water.
Sewage.
What do you call it?
Sewage.
What do you mean?
Like when it goes, like where does it go?
Into the
So, quite honestly, so we call it gray water. Any water that can't be reused without being filtered or cleaned is referred to as like the color gray water. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, and my lines are all goofy now. Ah!
What?
Jeez.
Yahoo!
I
Oh, yeah,
struggle
forgot
with this,
about
don't
the
I?
camera.
Those of you that see me every day, you know. All right, air pressure. There weren't questions related to this one. So let's just talk about air pressure. Yes, I am. Hi, hang on.
Huh, interruption.
Hello.
Interesting. Sir, put your hand in, put your face
Yes.
in the
So
interesting.
yes, I do.
Interruption.
Don't.
Don't.
Okay,
You want everyone
got
to
it.
see Sawyer.
I'm thirsty. Got two more
Sure, yep, 301, right?
Hey people, I'm
No.
accessible
Okay, got
behind
it.
the camera.
Yep, bye.
No, Dad.
Sanjay, head down to 205. You're supposed to be in math right now. That's all right. Do you know where it is?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can come back here when you were supposed to have math. Does that make sense? Okay, so air pressure. Remember I told you to think about air pressure as a column of air kind of sitting on top of you. And how much air pressure acts on you at sea level? Do you remember how many pounds per square inch? Your brains are like about 15 pounds. It's just under 15 pounds. So if you go up in altitude, if you make this column shorter, is there more or less pressure acting on you? Everybody? Less, right? So as you go up, air pressure goes down. Now, if you did the opposite, of course, if you went scuba diving down further, what's gonna happen to pressure then? The pressure would go up. So if you go down further in altitude, the pressure would go up. On a weather map, how is high pressure shown? What's the symbol for high pressure, Ben? Yeah, it's a big H usually, right? What about low pressure? How is that shown? Rehan?
Big L.
It's a big L. Okay. So what kind of weather is associated with high pressure? Evie? Fair, yeah. No precipitation, sun. Like today, this would be a perfect example of a high pressure system. This weekend, Friday into Saturday, we're supposed to get a low pressure system come through and bring snow. So low pressure brings clouds and precipitation. All right, let's talk about fronts, weather fronts. Now, there wasn't any questions listed here for these, so it's just simply knowing the different types and what kind of weather they can bring. So, what kind of front is this, everybody? Good. And of course, this would be warm front.
Warmy
I'm
one.
just gonna make this easier. Go. What kind of front is represented by that? Evelyn? Stationary. And then which one alternates, whoops, the wrong color. Which one has the alternating flags like that? Occluded, okay. So remember, the direction that the flags are pointing is the direction that the front is moving. And by definition, the only one that doesn't really move is the stationary front. It stays put for a few days, usually bringing steady rain or precipitation, and then it eventually will dissipate or go away. Any questions about weather fronts? It's being able to recognize them on a map and know what direction they're moving. Good? Alright. Weather map symbols, we went over the 4 types of fronts. How is precipitation shown on a weather map? What kind of symbols are used, Arushi?
Like the raindrop stuff.
Sometimes rain, yeah, so if we're talking rain, sometimes it's drops. How else can it look? Sutton?
Like dashes?
Yeah, sometimes it can be these kind of sideways things. Usually that's how rain is shown. Snow, what about snow? How is that usually shown? Nico?
Kind of like little dots or like the
Yep.
stars.
So sometimes snow can be shown, you're right, dots, sometimes little asterisks, sometimes stars. It just, again, depends on what map you're looking at. We went over the symbol for low and high pressure. When you're given a city, you're always given 2 numbers. What does that mean? What do those 2 numbers mean, Ritik?
High and low temperature.
For that day, right? So the high temperature for the day would be 85, the low would be 63. What are isobars? This is related to pressure, how pressure is shown on a map. Abby?
One's at an connecting, one's having the same atmosphere and pressure.
Yeah, so that's a weather map where you see squiggly lines all over it. Those lines connect areas with similar pressure. We went over what kind of weather low pressure and high pressure bring. All right, let's move on to winter storms. What causes lake effect snow? What causes that? Karina?
When cold air washes away with water.
What kind of air?
Cold air.
Okay, so it's dry, cold air. Dry, cold. And warm water. Again, what that's gonna cause, what part of the water cycle is gonna happen here first? Time, evaporation. Lots of this dry, cold air is gonna suck that water right up. What kind of clouds will be formed? What do we call the thunderstorm clouds? Large, Nico?
Cumulus, cumnimbus,
Cumulonimbus,
nimbus.
you got it. And remember, those are thunderstorm clouds, but they can also cause really large snowstorms as well. We just answered that first question, lake effect snow. Different types of precipitation, there's 5 main ones. Abby?
Snow, rain, hail, sleet, and I had ice crystals, but
So usually snow, rain, sleet, what did you say?
hail.
Hail. I thought there was a 5th one.
There's only 4.
You're right. There's only 4, because really freezing rain freezes when it hits a surface. So that's not really precipitation. It's not considered precipitation. Nico?
Doesn't that always happen on the east side of the lake?
Oh, are you talking about lake effect snow?
Yeah.
Yes, it happens on the east and sometimes
West.
southeast portion of the Great Lakes.
But never happens on the west.
It can, remember,
just
but it's
barely.
more common to get really heavy snow on the east side. You're right, because weather in the United States moves from
West to east.
west to east. Hurricanes, we know are large tropical storms. They're rated according to category, right? So what is the lowest category of hurricane, everybody? Say what?
Category
Okay, 1, and then the highest is 5. Good. And the tornadoes are also rated according to a scale. What is the lowest? F0 and highest is
F5.
F5. Excellent. Let's try some sample exam questions. This is when I want you to use your whiteboard or piece of paper to write down your answer.
I know it.
So we did some the other day, but these are gonna be new. Okay, so you're gonna use the diagram shown here. So this circle represents Earth. A, B, C, and D represent where the moon can be. Here's the sun. Answer questions 13 and 14 using the diagram. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see two answers on most everybody's whiteboard. Does anyone need a little more time?
No.
Okay, so what can occur when the moon is at position A? In other words, it goes Earth, Moon, Sun. Which of these can happen? Zyme,
Solar?
you say solar eclipse, who had that answer?
Okay.
Did you guess?
No, I was just like confused between solar and lunar.
So remember,
Yes.
Good job.
during a solar eclipse, the moon's shadow falls on Earth.
Yeah, I was not
So you're
sure.
correct. D would be your answer for number 13. What would occur, which of these could occur when the moon is at position C? Colton?
A full moon.
A is the correct answer, full moon.
I
Good.
actually put that C for some reason.
You put C, new moon. New moon would be here, position A. So if you're on Earth looking at the moon and the sun is lighting up the opposite part, it would be new moon. Make sense? Let's try some more. Let's answer 15 and 16. Let's see if I can make them a little bigger.
Oh, boy.
Well, but it's helpful because I'm recording it too, so. Yeah,
So when is it when like it, how much time it has to take to catch up with the Earth, or just to make progress?
so this is not asking how many days is in a lunar month. And a lunar month is from new moon to new moon.
Oh,
This is asking, how long does it take the moon to make one complete revolution or orbit around Earth? Answer both 15 and 16, please. I think she's trying to get your attention.
No, I haven't.
Now you have all of our attention.
I think we should.
We got
what
you.
is sun?
Vote you out.
Alright, I see two answers on most, but I think some might need a little more time. So, how long does it take the moon to make one complete orbit around Earth? How many days, Evie? B is not correct, because this is considered a lunar month. In other words, That's how much time goes by from new moon to the next new moon. How long does it take the moon to actually go around Earth once, Sawyer? A.
I knew it.
The reason there's a difference of about 2 days, again, is because the Earth hasn't stood still during that 27 days. It has also moved ahead in its orbit a little bit, which means to catch back up to new moon, it takes 2 extra days for it to catch up. What is the day that experiences the most amount of sunlight in the northern hemisphere? What do we call that, Ben? The summer solstice. Good. All right, let's try some more.
I just guessed. For some reason, I got both right.
Try number 17 and 18, please.
17.
For like why plants use carbon dioxide, do they just like after they're like done with their photosynthesis, do they breathe it out?
No, what do plants give us, Arushi?
They give us oxygen.
It's okay.
Always
It's
a-
exam week. You
always
have
a
an
repeat.
excuse. It's all right. All right, I see most people have, okay. So guys, again, I encourage you, anytime you're taking multiple choice, look for keywords. Like in this first question, we're looking for which things add carbon dioxide. For this one, we're looking for natural forms of air pollution. So number 17, which of these obviously add a lot of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere? Everybody? C, burning fossil fuels would be your answer. And which of these is an example of natural air pollution? Zine, volcanoes. Out of our control, happens naturally, and adds things to the air. All right, I'm gonna make this a little smaller so you can actually see it. All right, you have 2 more sample questions before we're out of time. Please answer question 19 and 20. Using the map, it is a little blurry, it will not be blurry
Can you like zoom in a little bit?
on the test mark. Well, kind of, but then the questions will disappear.
Okay.
So it asks you which type of front is heading north toward Minneapolis, and what city on the map has the highest high temperature? Let's see if I can actually.
Excuse me. Blind guy from the.
But I'm blind.
That's better. There you go.
Are you legally blind?
I'm legally
Okay, now
I am also blind. I said, why I got glasses?
Okay, you know what?
I am so blind.
Hey,
Now I can't see.
Zion's like, hey Zion, you're in frame.
Where's
You're
Los
being
Angeles?
recorded.
Oh, crap, my eyes are away. They're watching your every move,
Bye,
Zion.
David.
They see everything.
I'm good.
All right. Do you guys have an answer for each?
Yeah.
All right,
Now behind
19.
the camera.
So again, couple of key words in these 2 questions. I hope you saw the word north, and obviously Minneapolis. And here I hope you saw the 2 words, highest high temperature. So Minneapolis, notice, is kind of surrounded by 3 fronts. But it asks you, which one is heading north toward Minneapolis? Sutton.
The warm.
Yes, B, warm front. It is this one right here, heading north toward the city. Which city has the highest high temperature? So again, you'd be looking and comparing all of the first numbers listed. What's your answer there? Sawyer?
See Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, do you guys agree?
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. What questions do you have? We have 1 more minute left. Any questions about the exam tomorrow? Sign?
Actually, wait, no, no.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
You're going to do just fine. You're gonna do fine.
No, not.
Look over the study guide.
No.
Good thinking.
I'm definitely gonna.
Okay, Sutton?
Hey guys,
Shut
be
that off.
looking through the video. I'm behind the
Stop
camera.
recording. What was that?
I'm behind the camera.